right, today's video is going to walk students through how to complete their poetry unit project for spring 2020. We're looking at the instructions page right now. So just to go back over this again, students will have to study the difference between word choice and tone. Those are our two main things that we're looking at while we complete this project and study poetry. What students are doing is creating a do's and don'ts guide as a Powtoons presentation to a specific activity or event or aspect of their life that they do or maybe they want to do in the future. Your do's and don'ts guide needs to include a list of do's and don'ts, variations between standard and honors as far as how many numbers of each of those things that you need. Each student also needs an informational essay. Your length varies between your standard and honor students again. And then last, not last, a bibliography of research. We'll talk to students about what that is today, and then the actual Powtoons presentation itself. So we're going to go here to a tutorial and basically break this back down again. The things that students need, do's and don'ts, the actual list themselves. Students need their informational essay. Students need a bibliography, and students need their actual Powtoons presentation. So most of the students are going to be able to go ahead and start their do's and don'ts without getting too far into their project. So let's say that you can go ahead and list out a few things. And just for the sake of the project tutorial, I'm going to go back to the sample that I completed already. And that sample project was focusing on applying to college. And we're going to put that right here. So if I can list a few things, or maybe even at least just one out of my do's and don'ts off the top of my head, complete all parts of the application, because that's the big one I know that I talk about. And then the main don't that I know I'm going to talk about is forgetting to submit the application. So if I can't think of any do's and don'ts, or if I feel like I'm going to be too repetitive in my do's and don'ts, one of the things that students can go ahead and do is get into this bibliography section here. If you're struggling with finding do's and don'ts, or are unsure of how to word them, go ahead and start here. Go ahead with the bibliographies. So when I was searching around, I Googled my exact topic, and I went ahead and had my sources, or I went ahead and pulled up some resources. So I'm going to go ahead and put those websites up, and of course, it couldn't be found. We'll look at it again. Let's see if this one works. Well, this is awkward. Okay. Do's and don'ts of college applications. There was one. My college options was one. And Peterson's. Let's see if they pull this way. And they do. Okay, so when I Google exactly that, these are the sources that I chose from what popped up in my Google searches. So I'm going to go ahead and use these, and I'm not going to copy these word for word. That's plagiarism and that's cheating. But what I can do is take these and use these to create my own list further. And that's what I did, and that's where I came up with my two lists right here. So in my Google search, in my research of my project, I read through my websites. I found my list of do's and don'ts, things that I felt comfortable with talking about, and wrote them up in my own words. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste these lists over into the tutorial document, just so we don't get confused. It's in the same place. Now, since I already have sources available, what I'm going to go ahead and do is start working on that bibliography page while I'm here. So one of the websites that I like to use is CiteFast. It's It's going to come up and look like this. I make sure that across the top it does say MLA 8, and all of my websites or all of my sources are going to be web pages. So the only thing I need to do now is copy and paste those website links, hit the search button, and actually I've done this once already, so let me delete these so they don't show up again. And it fills in most of the information for me. So some of this I'm going to need to go back in and fill in myself. We were looking at the College Express, so I'm looking for an author. It says College Express wrote this, so that's going to be my organization. What else is it asking? Publisher or sponsor, if it differs from the name of the website, it doesn't. Access date, just click today and then hit save citation. So now let's go to my next one. Again, the only thing I need to do is copy and paste this URL link out of the top of my search bar here, paste it into the CiteFast page. And again, I'm missing my last name of my organization or my author. So let's go back. I don't see an author, so we are going to go with My College Options as the organization, again, that produced this particular website, this particular source. Last modified date. You can usually find one of these at the bottom of your screen. It's usually going to be in the form of a copyright date, and mine does. It's right here. It says 2020 My College Options in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm just going to put 2020 because I don't have a day and a month, and that's completely fine. Publisher and sponsor doesn't differ, so I'm not going to change that information. And I'm going to click today as the access date and hit save citation. And then we're going to do that one more time. We're going to go ahead and look here. There is an author's named Tom, and there is a 2020 copyright date. So in case that information doesn't fill in, we're going to have it. And it did fill it in. There's Tom's name. There's our last modified date. And we can just go ahead and click today. Again, my publisher or sponsor doesn't differ on the site from the site title, so I don't need to add that information again, and I can hit save citation. So now over here on the right-hand side of my screen, you see all of this information. The works cited has already been completed for you. So now what you need to do is you can hit copy and paste, and there it is. It's formatted. It's got all of the appropriate indentations. When you copy and paste this over to your Google Doc, it may not keep the spacing and the indentation, so we may have to go back and fix that, but it's an easy problem to fix. So we're back here at the bibliography section of my tutorial, and I'm just going to paste this information in. So now that I have my sources as my letters right here, I'm going to highlight these in a blue just so that you know and see that they are the sources themselves. Make a little note of sources. Okay. So now once I have my sources listed, I have to write the actual explanation of why I chose each of the particular sources that I did. This can be anything from it had good information for me, or the information was easy to find and easy to read through. For me, a lot of mine, I talk about finding the information easy, gave me exactly what I was needed. It was designed with a high school audience in mind. So there I'm going again referring to that word choice and that tone, and the relaxed style. Or I may say, I found this website, but it did not seem to care much about the presentation quality of the information, because that's a factor. When you're looking through your sources, you want this information to be easy to read. And on first glances, some of these don't look easy to read. So those are my little write-ups. They're usually 3 to 5 sentences per source that you have, telling me why you chose that source. Was it helpful to you? What information did it give you? Again, this is just so that teachers know students intentionally chose sources that were going to be helpful, and they just weren't wasting their time just Googling anything random. And it ensures that the project does have research supporting it. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste these paragraphs now that since I've already done them once. So now I have 2 out of my 4 elements of my project completed. I have my complete do's and don'ts list. This information is in my own words, but it is based on the research that I found. I have my bibliography pages that give credit to my sources, and what my credit was for my sources gave me what information I took from those sources. So now what I can do is I can either begin work on my Powtoons presentation, or I can begin work on my informational essay. Again, I would suggest students start here with the informational essay, because what that informational essay is going to do is it can kind of serve as a speech for your Powtoons, because you do need that voiceover to your presentation. When you're writing your speech, you want to keep in mind the TOPIA format for your paragraphs. You do not want to write one paragraph for each of your do's and don'ts. You will be writing, according to mine, 16 paragraphs by the time an introduction and conclusion gets added. Most of you aren't going to do that. But you do need an introduction and conclusion paragraph to your informational essay. So I would probably say that you're going to talk about 2 to 3 do's and don'ts per paragraph. That should get you where you need to be in terms of reaching your paragraph count on your essay. And it should give you a pretty good idea of how to complete your voiceover for your project or for your Powtoons presentation. So again, I've already got my informational essay here. It's in the sample that students can see on Canvas. So I'm just going to move my sample over to my tutorial document. Now, the problem that I ran into when I was doing the sample project is there was no way I was going to read my entire 6-paragraph essay in the time that I had allowed in my Powtoons presentation. So again, what students are probably going to want to do is once they have the whole informational essay written out, they're going to want to go through here and highlight the sections that they're actually going to read as their voiceover parts. That way, this keeps them on track, it keeps them focused, it keeps them from going over their time, and they can always rehearse this and get their timing down before you actually go into finalizing that Powtoons presentation. So let's go ahead and get over there to Powtoons and let's see what we have going on. Sorry. So Powtoons presentation, a lot of the students are seeing that what we have up here are templates of different presentations. If you choose to work from a template, it's going to preload a lot of slides that have content already on them, and you're going to spend a lot of time deleting that content, deleting those slides, moving information around. I think it's best you start with a blank Powtoons presentation. And when you start with a blank Powtoons presentation, you still get to choose these neat little design templates. I like the whiteboard. It's very fun. They have a little artist who actually sketches in your animations and your graphics. So one of the things I would recommend doing is you definitely want to start with an intro. And let's see. Let's start here. Oh, no, that's a pro feature. Oh, while we're here, pro features. When you guys are doing your Powtoons, make sure that none of your animations, none of your graphics, none of your slides have this little pro logo, because if it has the pro logo, you are not going to be able to export it. So let's pick one that is not a pro. Let's start here. It says hi. And you can change this. It's called this poetry project. And put your name. So great. I have my introduction slide. Now I can insert blank slides. Now when you insert blank slides, you definitely want these to have some kind of graphic to them, some kind of animation scheme. So let's go down here and let's see what we have. Again, we're looking for a feature that is not going to be a pro feature, because those pro features are going to cost us more. Let's go with this one. Okay. Do number one. And let's write it in down here. Let's go back to my do's and don'ts list. There we go. All right, and you can always insert an image. I definitely recommend students do this. You can move things around if you want to. You obviously don't have to keep everything exactly in the same spot. That the original presentation had it in. And I'm going to move some stuff around just so we can play around with style a little bit. Again, you want to customize these presentations so that they look catered to you. This is part of your diction. This is part of your tone in presenting to an audience, is presenting them with something that they're going to enjoy viewing. So what I'm going to do is keep this same exact slide style and format for all of my do's and don'ts. So what I can do is come over here and hit duplicate slide, and I'm just going to duplicate this slide for all of my do's. Then I can go back and change my font. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Duplicate it for number 5. Number 6. And number 7. And I'm actually going to go back in here and add a breaker slide. Let's add this one right here. Oh, I don't want to replace the seed that I just selected. Oh, it's because I need to add one slide in. There we go. And again, I'm going to duplicate this slide because I'm going to have the same breaker put in for leading into my don'ts section. And now I can just rewrite it. Again, I'm going to keep a lot of these same like styles. You don't need a whole lot of variety because you're just going to waste a lot of time in trying to get it done. But it works. It keeps all of the stuff that you would like to see. Okay. Now, when my students get here, you'll see a slide and it looks like this. Ms. Taylor, you've been hitting duplicate slide. Why didn't the image stay, or why can I see the image hit down at the bottom in the left-hand corner, but not on my slide itself? Look across the bottom, you have these timers, and these are where your graphics are jumping in at. So you want to make sure when you're editing your slide that you realize when these graphics are coming in and when you'll be able to see them all as they appear. Okay? So we've got all of our do's listed in. We've got one don't slide listed in so far, and we're just going to keep duplicating these until we have the number that we need. 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then I'm going to add one more blank slide, and I'm going to include a conclusion. And we'll go to outros for conclusions. And one in here. This one's not a pro feature. I'm gonna get rid of the little heart there. I don't need a logo. All right, and there we go. So now my Powtoons is created. I have all the slides that I need. They're all designed. So now the only thing I need to do is go in and change all the wording on all of my fonts. Again, make sure you move this little timing cursor all the way to the end. You can see when I play through that how that animation looks. So now each slide's going to appear, and this is what my viewers are going to see. So I'm pause our video animations here. So go to all your slides, make sure you move that timer all the way to the end so you can see your full thing. And let's change all of our wording on our slides to match what they really need to say. So number 2. And when you get here, if you've got a little bit of information like this and you want to add this font or you want to make this font a little bit bigger, that's completely fine. That way we can see it. It'll be nice and easy to read when you're looking at a full screen view of this. So once you have your project done, all of your images are in, all of your fonts are in, and you're ready to start recording, go to the first slide of your presentation, and there's a little microphone button down here when you are speaker, and you can add voiceover. When you go to add your voiceover, what it'll do is a little dialog box will pop up, and I'll stop it before it actually starts recording me again in this. But this will pop up, and you can go ahead and hit record right in here. That way you don't have to switch systems or anything like that. So now it says record a voiceover. Go ahead and start recording and go back to your project tutorial. Go to your informational essay, read off what you wanted to read off. Keeping in mind you have 3 minutes to have a 3-minute voiceover that'll match this Powtoons presentation. And then after you finish your voiceover, it'll apply and it'll lay into the whole presentation. See, it'll say entire Powtoon here. And then what you can do is go through, play your presentation, listening to what you're saying, and adjusting the amount of time each slide's going to play based on if you're talking about what's on that slide or not. With a presentation that is as long as mine, it's about 18 slides. So let's go to my calculator. In 3 minutes, there are 60 seconds, and let's go with our 18 slides. I probably need to talk about each slide for about 10 seconds. That's something else that you're going to want to consider when you're writing your informational essay and you're choosing what you're going to say when. Keep in mind, you only have 10 seconds to talk about each of these things. So say what your do is, a very little brief reason why, move on to the next thing. Say what your do is, very little information why, move on to the next one. Don't forget you gave yourself a couple transition slides in here, so you've got a minute or two, or you've got about another 10 seconds here to say, now we're going to talk about some of the don'ts students should do when they're applying to college or whatever your activity or event is here. And then your outro. Make sure you say thanks for listening and bye. So that's your presentation, and once you have completed the Powtoons itself, I'll show you how to export. Hit preview and export here. As long as you don't have any pro features and as long as you didn't go over the 3-minute timing, you're going to be able to hit export. And let's see, what are my export options? When you export it, I want you to export it as a YouTube link. And let's see what it does. Because I don't want it just to be a PowerPoint, because I do want a movie feature. Yeah, let's export it to a YouTube link. You can create a YouTube account with a student email. Very simple to go through. We'll get to individual aspects of this, or we'll go into another video to do this one. But once you've gotten here, at least your project's done, and I'll start coming by and working with students on a one-to-one basis of how to get that exported video into Canvas so that they have it for grade. Students, if you've got any questions, please just let me know.